Yeah. Hey there, fellow citizens of the internet. Welcome to the Kabandana podcast. Today I have with me Zena Contreras, and we're going to be talking about job hunting. And, actually, Zena, take it away from there. What do you, welcome to the Kabandana podcast.
Thank you so very much for having me here, Moses. I have 25 years of corporate recruiting experience and really wanted to change the landscape for job seekers. So I decided to become a full-time career coach where I share my insights and secrets and really a lot of information that they may not understand that happens in the hiring process to help them prepare for their interviews, to help them understand where they are in the process so they stop getting ghosted by employers.
And how did you end up as a recruiter?
Oh, so 25 years. I've been doing this for a long time. I think I started right out of retail and worked my way into human resources, and then really liked the interaction of the diversity of people that would come in and apply for jobs. And just started graduating and expanding my experience. I've worked in retail. I've worked in government agencies for energy companies, private equity, and most recently, my last employer was CNN, so I've left the broadcasting television world.
Okay, so was this like a career dream, like a dream career, or it just so happened that you did it so much that you would just kind of like fell into it?
Well, I love the fast pace of hiring people. I love, such as I said, the diversity of people. There's people you meet from all over the world trying to apply for different jobs. And what I found is I started to like helping people more than helping the internal client, meaning CNN, Disney, those sort. I really wanted to help people position themselves and package their background in a way that doors would open for them. And a lot of that came from the life coaching. So I've been a life coach as well. And so I started to see the real opportunity with changing the experience for the applicant so that they can get a job. I mean, a lot of people are so tied in mentally with their work, their title, their income, that it is a very big part of their livelihood.
Okay. Wow. It is a huge part of someone's livelihood. And so you've been doing this for a good minute now. And why have you noticed being like one of the biggest misconceptions that people have when it comes to recruiters?
Well, I think that they don't understand the power that a recruiter has. So think of it in terms of a gatekeeper. I am the gatekeeper to open up this new world to you. So it really is important to make a really good impression. It really is important to help me help you navigate the internal interview process so that you can meet decision makers and get hired.
Yeah. So you're not against me, right? It's not like I mean, because typically the idea of a gatekeeper it carries a bad connotation, right? It's like you between me and my dream, there is you. But
Absolutely.
It sounds like what you're saying is that in addition to that, or like it's not exactly like that. It's like I'm here to make sure that you, meaning the applicant, is the best fit for the company. But you're going to help them in that process. Is that a good interpretation?
Absolutely. So if you think about it in terms of a race or a marathon, there are hundreds and thousands of people that are starting at that gate. And that gate is, I'm the gatekeeper. And they're going through the applicant tracking system, applying online into the career system. And there are thousands of people. I have to weed those people out through the journey and put them in front of the hiring leader, who will then make a decision to say, these are the great top 3 people. I want them to meet my team. And then from there, we'll make the selection. So in terms of a gatekeeper, I don't want to say that I have that much power, like I can make this happen or not make this happen, but I can open up the door and walk you through that system to understand what the nuances are so that you can be selected or be part of that selection team.
Well, so then, well, speaking of selection, then how does a candidate, beggars cannot be choosers, I understand, but how can a candidate distinguish a good recruiter from a bad recruiter?
So, a good recruiter is going to ask you questions. They want to know about your background. If I just take it
Mm,
for face value, what you've written on your resume, and I really don't get a chance to understand you
mm,
personally as well, because I'm building a relationship with you. So, I want to understand some things that connect us together, or some things I can learn from you, or what you can learn from me, so that we can be on this journey together. So if a recruiter doesn't ask you questions, they're not invested in wanting to get to know you. And if they don't want to get to know you, you're just another piece of paper on their desk, right?
Okay, so if I can summarize that, it's important for you to ask the recruiter specific questions to see whether they're there for you per se, or if they're just trying to add you as part of a number that they're gonna present in front of the employer. Mm,
Absolutely.
okay. Well, so you before we start recording, you mentioned that there's currently a mass layoff that's happening. Can you expand on that a little bit?
Absolutely. So last I counted, because I look at the labor statistics, there are over 6.2 million people who are currently unemployed in the United States. And there are probably about 1,900 to 3,000 companies that are laying off that level of employees. So Spotify just laid off. Bank of America is talking about layoff. Google is actually laying off some people. In the media industry, there's some layoffs coming. So that there are layoffs across the board. There's a couple of great sites that people can look at. One is called dailylayoff.com or layofflist.com. Believe it or not, sometimes the layoff is announced even before the employee is made aware. And that happened recently with LinkedIn. So LinkedIn's 700 layoffs was announced on Friday on those sites, and the people walked in on Monday, really very sad, to a scenario that they were actually being laid off. So we want to keep informed of what's happening, and there are different ways to do that. But everyone should
Mm,
consider themselves to be in a vulnerable situation, especially this time of year, because this is where companies roll up their numbers to Wall Street. And so they want to look good to Wall Street, right? So obviously they're not going to cut the executives. They're going to cut where they can, they can reduce their expense for that, so that they can have year-end numbers that make them look like a progressive company, a growing company, or maybe a company that hasn't lost so much throughout the year.
That makes sense because it was right around this year, plus or minus 2 weeks. No, minus 2 weeks last year, where I got let go on a Friday at the end of my shift. I did not know that. I was not notified, and my recruiter was not notified. So I came in to work on Monday, right? Worked the whole shift for Monday, and then at the end of the shift, I found out, wait a minute, I had been let go because my manager was not responding to my messages, and my recruiter called me at the end of the shift. It's like, hey, I hear that you chose to quit on Friday. What's going on? Because I was keeping in touch, with my recruiter. So there was this big disconnect. What you're saying makes sense in that it was right around this time, and I was not aware. I was not made aware, and I did not know where to look. I mean, nothing suggested, right, that there was a layoff coming. So that's a very good point that you raised. So what can someone do, like in this case, right around this time, or like how does one prepare for when they get let go without further notice? Like how does that work?
Great question. We get complacent when we're in a job, And we just think that, we're getting a paycheck on a weekly basis, monthly basis, and we're doing the best that we can do. What we failed to do is we failed to keep an inventory log of projects, scope, and size, cross-functional teams, any impact, any value, any awards or anything, recognition. We fail to do that throughout the year because our job is a day-to-day job, whatever level you're in. And so when it's time to look for another job or have been downsized or layoff, it's so frustrating to try to now remember all of these things to now add value to a piece of paper. And so I tell people to keep a little work journal all the time, or, keep adding things to your resume. Keep it on a, Square Drive or whatever, and keep adding things, especially if you're involved in projects, cross-functional teams, any international communications, building relationships, maybe a new merger and acquisition. Those things have tremendous value. So when you come to me, the career coach, I can help you package that in a way that you can get seen, because decision makers really want people who can jump in and do the job right away. They don't want to have to train, and they don't want that downtime. They want to know that someone is capable. By referencing some of the things that you've done in the past, it makes you more valuable to them, because they know they're not going to have to handhold you or pay for any additional training or accommodate in any special way. So keep a journal or keep adding to your resume.
Okay, that makes sense. That makes sense, because a few weeks ago, I had, maybe like 2 months ago, I had an interview, and the hiring manager was like, "Hey, you have all that it takes, and I think we're gonna go with you, but I just found out that we need to do internal interviews before we can honor external interviews." And so right after the hiring manager said that, I talked to my my recruiter. I was like, "That's pretty much the likelihood that I will get that role is pretty low, given that you have internal preference, right? You don't have you will not have to retrain the person. You won't have to create a new account. You won't have to. They are already part of the company. They already understand company culture. So it was like in my head, I was like, they will probably just go with an internal person. Is that a fair assumption to make?" And she was like, "Not 100%, but the likelihood is high." And sure enough, like a week and a half later, the hiring manager's like, "Yeah, we had to go with somebody internally." So I guess that leads to the question of how do you present yourself in a way that's, I guess, more attractive than someone that's already in the company that's trying to move around? That's a bit harder of a question, I think, no?
So let's talk about your scenario, because as you were telling me that, there are a couple of things that came to mind. Applicants don't really ask very valuable strategic questions. So one of those questions that you might have asked is, what are you trying to accomplish in this role in the first 30, 60, 90 days? And then once they told you that there was an internal, so you're listening, you have to be left brain, right brain, right? So you're listening. And so when they then presented, oh, by the way, we now need to interview internals, you can then ask, so what are my skills against the present internals that you have that are being interviewed? Is there something different that you're looking for that I don't have that an internal might bring? Now, you're looking for that information. If you go to my website, there's actually a testimony of Eric Mitchell. He was a candidate that was not selected for a job. He was not selected. They told him he wasn't selected. And when I asked him, debriefed him, like, what did the interview consist of? Did they tell you what they were trying to accomplish? We then put together a short presentation, PowerPoint presentation, and sent that off to the hiring leader on, I don't know, it was like a Thursday or Friday. He then got a call that next week and said, "Tell me more." Now, they had already told him that he wasn't the candidate. you know what, we're interviewing people, we have some internals, we'll get back to you.
Okay.
And what he did is he reached out to me. We had I was his recruiter at one point. Now I'm his career coach. And he reached out. He was like, Zena, I really want this job. What can I do? And I said, what are their objectives? What is their vision? What are they trying to accomplish? How can you take your skills and your transferable skills and show them that you are the solution for that job? And so he did the PowerPoint presentation. But the point that I really wanted to make long-windedly is you have to be the solution. So you have to listen for what their challenges are, because clearly, if there was an internal that was on track, ready for this role, it would not have gone out to external candidates.
Okay. That makes sense. Huh. Well, that was 2 months ago. So that's a little relatively now, I think.
And we'll walk through it, and I'll have some strategic questions for you.
Okay. That's amazing. And so this leads me to the next question, which is, most of us don't think of creating a medium to long-term relationship with a career coach or a recruiter. So we just think a recruiter is here to give me a job, and then once you are in the door, once you have the position, you're done, right? So, but it's a big misconception, because it's what I'm hearing here is there's a value in there that you check in with a recruiter, let's say every 3 months, every 6 months, to give an update, right? So what are some of the, well, one, why is it so important to maintain a relationship with your recruiter? And then I suppose a sub question to that is, what are some tips and tricks to not end up on the bad side of your recruiter or career coach?
So it's a relationship. It's a relationship that you're building. It's a relationship with someone that can offer you guidance and also leverage to the next stage in your career. So if you were looking for a job in entertainment, I would tell you that the way to get promoted in entertainment is obviously to do a great job, but align yourself with key contributors within the organization. I've seen people move from human resources to marketing and never have any marketing experience, but because they had that alliance and that person then was sort of cheering for them when that next opportunity came about. So a recruiter, actually, I'm looking outside in, and I am not emotionally attached to what you're experiencing on the day-to-day. So I can listen to what you're telling me. I can then put together some research or look at some other statistics. I can then network with other recruiters to say, well, how do people get promoted at NBC? What does that look like? And I can offer you that value and insight. So that's why it's very important to have a relationship with a recruiter, but also a career coach. So recruiter internal with a company, if you want to grow with the company in terms of succession. A career coach is to help you advance in any company, just overall within your, what it is that you're trying to accomplish. The difference that I offer is I also offer the life coaching aspect, because we know that when we're in these companies on a day-to-day basis, we could get burnt out. There's often a misconception that someone is attacking me. They're taking advantage of me. This person may not have the skills that I have. And so why are they getting the added advantage? So what happens from a personal perspective is that builds resentment within your body. And so then you start to, it's that person's going to get the role. I'm not going to get the role. And so I can help you deflect from that and stand in your own reality. So it's very important to have that relationship with a recruiter and or a career coach. How you can get on the bad side of a recruiter? You can get on the bad side of a recruiter by nagging them, because you're not the only person that they're dealing with. I did have someone at Disney years ago that was an admin, and he wanted to get promoted into a different area. He just was tired of the secretarial pool. And every time a job came available, he would knock at my door. Can you get me an interview for this job? Can you get me an interview for this job? So that shows desperation. And desperation is where you don't want to be in your job search, whether you're unemployed or whether you're currently employed. It's important, and this is one of the things that I share with people from my career coaching perspective with my life coaching, is your energy speaks before you do. So most of my interviews have taken place over the phone. I don't see your face. I don't see your body image, and I'm listening for these inflections in your tone that tell me you're positive, you're negative, you're so, you're not interested, you're desperate, you'll do anything. And that helps me to build an assessment whether or not you fit into my organization, the company I'm hiring for, and their culture.
Okay, that yeah, that makes a lot of sense. But can you elaborate a little bit more on desperation? Because I think that can be overly simplified. The importance of avoiding desperation, because correct me here if I'm wrong, but when you're desperate, you're prone to making mistakes, even if you have the best intentions, even if you have the best of intentions. So can you elaborate more on avoiding desperation? As far as like when you're searching for a job and when you're trying to maintain your relationship with your boss and just in general.
So desperation comes across as being too eager, overly anxious, overly inquisitive. It also comes across as nervousness. It comes across as intimidated. It comes across as not able to communicate. So let's take it from the job seeking perspective. You are so aligned to the money that you made, the status and the prestige, and now you're unemployed. And now the national average right now is between 7 and 12 weeks to actually land a job. That's if you're full-time looking for a job, right? So 7 to 12 weeks, though, that's, multiple paychecks that's not coming into your home. So you have to keep yourself mentally balanced. And what I do is I give people different exercises. I've written ebooks that they can use as a journal to look at every day. I'll give you an example. I had a client who was laid off from Disney. He has about 25 years of, has about 15 years of experience with IBM and then with Disney. Okay. His last job was an IT manager. And then it was the pandemic, so not that many people were hiring. So what he decided to do is go to graduate school. He got accepted in an Ivy League graduate school in the States. I mean, very prestigious. Huh. He completed that, and then he just started looking. It was 3 months in, so 2 years unemployed with the pandemic, going to graduate school, and now 3 months of hardcore looking for a job. Now everything is falling apart in his home, and he's really desperate. He decided to look for an IT sales job. And I thought, why would you do that? You are right now CTO quality. You're Chief Technology Officer quality. You have that caliber of experience and education. Why would you do that? He said, because a friend told me that he could get me the job. So here's how desperation works. You get so desperate, and then you've deflated your background so much that it takes forever, or maybe you never can get to that level again, because it is about critical thinking. And employers look for examples of critical thinking. If our IT system went down, are you going to be able to jump in and get us back online? That's critical thinking. Yeah. But if you're thinking desperately that, I need to look for a job. I get it. I get it. People need the money. Yeah. I get it. But a career coach can help you showcase your experience, target certain companies. Within those companies, target certain leaders where at least you'd be able to open up the door to build relationships, but they would look at you like a viable potential candidate for this role.
That's a lot of information. I don't want to linger too much on desperation, but I just want to highlight a little bit more to that, because it's like, when you're desperate, you're more likely to make mistakes. And when it comes to job search, well, not job search. Let's say you are currently working in a company, you're happy and whatnot, but misery strikes all of us every now and then, job loss and whatnot. So, how the question I'm trying to say is like, how can you prepare yourself for the next role before, like, before you get fired, before you lose your position, before you get laid off? You're currently in your position. Let's say you're happy, but at the same time, maybe you touched on this a little bit earlier, but at the same time, you're getting ready for, like, hey, just in case something happens, I have my resume ready. I have these connections. I have this. I have all these things lined up so that in case I get laid off, and in case I get fired, in case the company goes under, I'm able to put myself back in the market, not desperately, right? Not so desperate that I'm willing to take any position that comes my way. So, question is, how do you prepare yourself, right, when things are good, so that when things go bad, you're not desperately looking for a job?
Great question. So yes, I did touch upon this. So aligning yourself with key individuals outside of your department. So if you're working in human resources or you're working in sales, get to know people in IT, get to know people in marketing, get to know people in other cross-functional areas within the organization, get to know the leaders. What I know from being in corporate is if you go in there and let's say, Moses, I go in there and I say, tell me about your vast experience with this, and this. You would be willing to share that. Compliments open up the door, but give a genuine compliment. If I do my homework on you, or you do your homework on me, and you say, oh, so how did you work for Disney 3 times? That sort of diffuses the resistance for me, like, well, why does he want to get to know me? Why am I sharing my work experience or secrets with him? So it opens up the door for conversation. So that's what building relationships and alliances are about. Learn what those individuals do. And then there's so much information out there. There are all of these online courses, there are master classes, keep abreast of technology and different information. Make yourself valuable. Make yourself cross-functional. Don't just stay within sales and marketing and this particular industry. I'm working with a lady right now. All of her background is in Montessori school, which is early education. But she has the marketing skills. And I told her, I said, well, go out there and learn AI. Well, I don't understand why I need to learn AI. Well, if you're in marketing at any level, you need to understand AI. You can go to Udemy for $19 or $20 and get a weekend course so that at least you're able to have a conversation with that. Now, here's the important thing. People will think, I don't have that skill set that they're looking for. All you need is a conversational level, not unless you're actually doing coding or a technical, because every company uses systems differently. So let's say your company uses AI very differently. I'm going to have to learn that in your organization. But because I have a practical level of AI, I can then be able to talk that language with you. So getting back to your question, it's all about building relationships, alliances, and making sure that you are refreshing your skills all the time.
Yeah, that makes sense, especially in the tech world, right? Because it like if you're not paying attention every 18 months or so, and you get left behind pretty fast. Terminology changes, social media does its thing all the time, and every 2 years, technology seems to be taking a different course. So let's move into the world of resumes here for a second. One, I'm terrible at making resumes, so that probably plays a role into the difficulties that I have when I'm looking for a role. But can you let us into the some of the tips, tricks, some of the misconceptions that people have about designing an appealing resume, a compelling resume, and how to beat these automated systems. Take it away.
You're talking to the choir right now. I love this stuff. So first of all, you need to understand which resume works best for your background. Everyone goes to the chronological resume, which starts with your present job working its way back of your education. That's chronological. But let's say if you don't have a progressive professional background, there could look like there's some gaps in the story that you're trying to tell, right? So maybe you need a functional resume that if there were gaps or there were difference in industries, you could take the functionality of the roles and responsibilities that you've done, and that would be the bulk of the resume. And then at the bottom, you don't emphasize the industry too much, or you don't emphasize your role, but you're talking about the transfer. Like, this is what I can bring to the table. That's what that is. There's a combination resume or a hybrid resume that intermingles both. And I really like those for professionals. So let's say you were in an environment that there were various work matrix. You could then highlight that in a pie chart or a graph or something like that. It's very, very appealing. Okay. So that's the different types of resumes. There are different levels of resumes. So there's the applicant tracking resume, which is an ATS-friendly resume. That's the one that you're going to use to apply online to the career sites into the systems, right? And so that one is going to be very keyword-friendly. So what you want to do is whatever format you choose, you want to make sure that you look at the job description and intermingle some of that into the resume. So one good way to do that is if you have a career summary or an objective. Let's say you're looking for a director of marketing operations. You would include that, I have 25 years of marketing experience and I am looking to secure a director of marketing operations. That stands out in the ATS system right away that you're a match for that role. And then if you intermingle some of the software and some of that other stuff, you're going to raise your ranking level in the applicant tracking system. The way that I coach people is very different. So I actually build a strategy so that we don't have to go to the applicant tracking system. It sounds crazy, and I'm going to tell you. I have 3 things. Okay. Don't apply online. Don't answer your phone when you're looking for a job. And make sure that you know your story. And people will say, Zena, if I don't answer my phone and a recruiter calls me, then I'm not going to get an interview. Right. But here's what happens 99.9% of the time. I call you, hey, Moses, you don't know what time I'm going to call because I'm screening your resume. Hey, Moses, this is Zena Contreras from XYZ Company. Do you have a moment to chat? Oh, I'm in Walmart. I'm doing groceries. Can you call me back? Like, which job is that I applied? So you're not prepared. You only get one opportunity to make a good impression. Recruiters will always leave a voicemail message. So then you can call back and you can say, I'm available between 12 and 6 o'clock. I'd love to talk to you about this job because now you know which job it is because you know which company. So that's why I tell people not to answer their phone. The other not to apply online is because when you apply online and you use a generic resume and you haven't tailored your resume, you're in a pool of all of these people. I'm watching LinkedIn, and within hours, some of these jobs posted have well over 1,000 applicants. How can you stand out from all of those people? Because the secret is that recruiters screen resumes. I'm only giving the national average, LinkedIn says, between 6 and 13 seconds. I can read a resume in about 7 seconds. What kind of impression can I make in 7 seconds from a piece of paper? So I tell people to go around the gatekeeper, because if I really want that job, the decision maker is going to make a decision on my background. And so I have to be that solution. So when people come to me, I am teaching them how to be the solution for the vacancy. I'm teaching them how to be the solution for the organization. I don't want them in the pool with everyone else.
Okay. Okay, that makes sense. That's typically me when I'm desperate, let's say. Uh, I'll if I find a position online, instead of submitting my application or anything like that, I will go to the company's website. I mean, I'll call recruiters. I'll email them. One time I got a call back from a recruiter, and she was like, "By the way, how did you find my number? Because I don't have the number online." And so I had gone to the company's website. There was like a little contact us form, and it doesn't take you to the recruiters, but it takes you to somebody that works at the company.
Right.
And I was like, "Hey, I'm looking for a job, and then I noticed this job that's being listed by so and so. Could you pass me through?" She passed me through to her, and unfortunately, she was not ready to answer the call, but she got my voicemail, and then she called me back later on. Yeah, going around the posted position online can be beneficial.
It works. One of the things to understand is recruiters have a workload of probably 25 to 50 requisitions. So if each one of those requisitions has 200 on the low scale to 500 to 1,000, that's very time consuming. How can you stand out? And so here's the strategy that I would say. I would say keep your applicant tracking resume for when Zena says, "Hey, I want you to apply online to that job." Use that because that has dates and verifiable information.
Okay.
But if I wanted to get Zena's attention, I might have a combination resume that really emphasizes some things, and you can intermingle those resumes really, really quickly. I've got it down to about 14 minutes to be able to modify my resume, find the hiring leader, send an email cover introduction, all that in 14 minutes. And if you do that very strategically, you do that, and let's say your job search is an hour a day. So you've made 3 contacts times 5, that's 15 targeted contacts. Targeted, not sitting in a pool somewhere where there are thousands and thousands of people. And so as a hiring leader, you're the hiring leader, and I send my resume to you. If I have a tailored resume and I've hit some of the core elements that you're looking for, here's what's going to happen. Moses, you're going to take that resume. Maybe either you're going to call me directly and say, "Can we schedule some time to talk?" Or you're going to give it to your assistant or maybe the recruiter that's assigned to you, and you're going to say, "This resume looks really great for this role. I know we've got all these other applicants. Can you call this person? Can you vet this person? Can you see if I can afford this person?" Guess what that's done? You've risen above all of those applicants in the applicant pool. You're now here where everyone else is in the same pool. So now you're above and beyond. You're out of that pool of water and you're in that selection process.
Yeah, that's really interesting. So you can tell that you've been in this for a couple of decades. So let's completely random question here that has nothing to do with career coaching and recruiting. As far back as you can think, right, memory-wise, what is your absolute earliest memory that you can remember?
Wow. Okay, my earliest memory. I went to Catholic school, and I can remember sitting down with a nun having lunch, and like kindergarten. And maybe that sparked my spiritual religious journey, because I do have that aspect. But I remember sitting down at a table and a nun coming to the table and having lunch with me, which made me feel special.
Yeah. Do you remember what you were eating or no?
I remember I love apples, and I remember I had an apple, and I think that she came to help me with the apple. I don't know if it was she cut the apple for me, But now that you ask, and that's going to be interesting because I'm going to ponder that all day. Well, that makes me a little emotional because I think that she helped me with the apple. And I'm now feeling that how wonderful it felt to have this attention, this person. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Oh, no, that's okay. It's good. How old were you at that time?
Probably 6 or 7, maybe 5 or 6. Yes.
Okay, okay. I typically ask this question because it's like it kind of like throws people off left and right because it's like we're talking about one topic and then it's a complete 180. But it forces your mind to just change a little bit. So now
I love it.
we can come back to the main conversation here. So resume tip, right? If you haven't worked, let's say for a year, one reason or another, right? I'm coming up on a year. I took a year off. I've been lollygagging around and vagabonding throughout the world, doing all kinds of adventures and stuff. And I talked with a few recruiters because I was like, hey, I mean, does this 1 year like just means that I won't be able to get a job ever? And they were like, no. Like, what did you do? I was like, well, I traveled to different parts of the world. I did this, I did that. And they're like, okay, well, you can focus on the experiences that you did and what you learned during those experiences and how those experiences can apply to this new position. I was like, oh, I didn't think about that. So what do you have to say for someone that let's say either A, they haven't worked literally for an extended period of time, or that they're coming from a completely different sector, right? So if you're an IT guy and then all of a sudden you're applying to be I don't know, a space engineer or a drone pilot, there's a big difference there. So how do you approach that?
So first of all, you need a functional resume, and that's the resume that actually pulls from your experience in your travels, pulls from your experience in the other roles that you've had, and it emphasizes all of this value that you can bring to an organization. So if you didn't have a resume from scratch, I would say use this formula. Go out and find a job that you think you can do. Not that like, oh, I'm hoping one day I can do that, but that you can walk in tomorrow and do. And take those elements and take your background and go into AI and put them together and ask AI to highlight the core elements of your experience so that you can put together this functional resume. So then when you're in your interview, when you've gotten to the interview, you want to share those exciting experiences with the interviewer. If they say, well, this resume is formatted a little bit differently and I don't really see what you've been doing in the last year and a half, then you're in front of them. You can share that experience in a way that you can leverage that experience to talk about how that fits to the job. I really took an opportunity to learn different cultures and learn their different perspective. That gives me the point of view that when I come in, I'm very open-minded and I look at things from all aspects, right?
Okay.
But that functional resume doesn't weed you out because you had that employment gap or work gap.
Okay, that makes sense. So as we're coming to a close here, are there any final thoughts that they'd like to leave the audience with? Whether it's someone that's they say you just finished college, right? You just finished college and you entering into a job market that is, well, not good at best, right? All the way to someone that they're trying to change a career. Let's say they have a decade or two of experience in one particular domain of competence, and they're just too afraid to jump into something else, right? So there's a huge distance there. So any final thoughts for those two groups there?
very wide spectrum, so I appreciate that. My thought would be is only you can tell your story, and there is power in your story. And your story is comprised of your gifts, talents, and ability and your work experience. And that journey has led you to this point. I don't want you to think about a job loss or a new opportunity as the door is closed, but see it as a door is opening to more exposure, to more expansion, to more growth. We have to shift our perspective from being unemployed and a job seeker to you are sharing your story and you're interviewing companies because you're going to spend 8 hours a day there. You're interviewing them because of what you bring. Okay. So I really want to start from the empowerment. Only you can tell your story, and you have a story to tell.
Okay. That's valuable insight, Zena. Thank you. Thank you so much for coming to the Moses Kabandana podcast. If people are interested in learning more about you and acquiring more information from you, where can they find you?
They can go to my website, careercoachingcloud.com. I'm offering also a free resume review. So you can book a session with me for 30 minutes and I can look at your resume. I can look at your resume, Moses. You can tell me what it is that you're looking to achieve and I can give you suggestions. So careercoachingcloud.com.
Careercoachingcloud.com. Zena, thank you so much for coming to the Moses Kabandana podcast.
Thank you. Thank you.
He's that.
Yeah.